What about this whole rape? Have you been talking or thinking about the whole like Amy Schumer, Kurt Metzger? Do you know Kurt and like his Facebook?
And I saw what he said, and I had someone else contact me about that guy and whether or not he was telling the truth or the woman was telling the truth. I don't know him. I don't know her, and I'm not getting involved because I don't know. If I knew her and I could implicitly trust her and I knew that she was going to tell the truth, and I just don't understand the motivation behind someone jumping in with an opinion. I think what he's saying, though, is interesting because what Kurt was saying was that it is entirely possible. He was satire, obviously, but he's saying women cannot lie. They're like my Bible. It's impossible for a woman to lie, just like the Lord's word. But he's being funny. He's funny.
He's
hilarious.
Such a shit stirrer.
Yeah, he's hilarious. But it's weird, like that. There's this culture where we know for a fact that some people lie about every single aspect of life. They lie about what they did. They lie about their taxes. They lie about everything. But we're supposed to assume that women never lie about rape, and it's not true. We know it's not true, but we're not allowed to say it's not true, even though we know it. We're not allowed to bring it up. But so if there's a possibility, if a woman says that she's raped, you have to accept that 100% at face value, even if the man is saying he didn't rape her.
It's really hard because that's one side of the ledger, and then on the other side of the ledger, you've got all of the overwhelming number of cases where men get away with it.
Yes.
Because women are too afraid to go to the police, or that they feel like they're dirty, or they're somehow, for whatever reason. They would rather just not talk about it and let it go away. So I think that women's rights people and feminists think like if it's occasionally the case that a man is wrongly accused, that's a small price to pay for fostering a climate in which women feel less nervous about coming forward. Now, I'm not saying that I believe that, but wow, what a shitstorm Kurt has. So I'm not sure if everyone knows the background to this, that there was one of the comics at UCB Theatre in New York was accused of being a repeat sexual offender by a bunch of women. So UCB suspended him as a comic and, excuse me, and conducted its own internal investigation. And Kurt went on a big Facebook rant. I was looking at it this morning, actually, saying basically, like, why is this internal, what is this, like the Catholic Church, the UCB Theatre, like doing an internal investigation? Why didn't these women go to the police? He writes, this is his original Facebook post, guys, I've just heard some disturbing news. This guy, Jif Dilfiberg, is a rapist. I know because women said it, and that's all I need. Never you mind who they are. They're all women. All women are as reliable as my Bible, a book that, much like a woman, is incapable of lying. That's sort of what you were saying, right? You think I would dare ask my God, Lord Jesus Christ, the Nazarene, to provide any details or evidence of any kind before I believe in him or a woman? No, because that would be like hammering the nails into Jesus my Lord's feet or re-raping the victim's good hole. Or asking for proof in a murder trial. And he goes on like that. I mean,
it's really funny if that guy's innocent. If that guy's guilty, then it becomes really disturbing because you kind of become an enabler. The
problem is there's no way Kurt can know.
Exactly.
But I think it raises interesting questions about the whole kind of the censoriousness and like the hysteria of the social justice warrior brigade in that there are people who really fucking want him to get fired and never to, if Amy's show comes back, they don't want him back as a writer. I'm sure that there are comedy clubs that are going to rethink whether or not they want to book him because he might be too toxic. And
I doubt that.
Maybe not.
I don't think this is that big of a deal because what he said was not that big of a deal. But the issue.
But everyone went crazy.
Well, she went crazy. Amy did. She posted this thing, saying that she's very disappointed.
That was in response to an endless barrage of social justice people and feminists saying that this is completely unacceptable and he deserves to be fired for it.
Meanwhile,
not that he has a job.
He showed some pretty incredible loyalty to her during that whole plagiarism scandal, especially when he was one of the ones who told her to not do one of those jokes because it was a Wendy Liebman joke. So he kept his mud about all that, and then she turned on him with this whole thing. So the whole thing is very sordid. And I see her point of view, and I see his point of view. I really do.
I think she felt she didn't have an option, because she did say, Kurt's my friend, and I support him. I'm disappointed in him.
Yeah.
It's toxic. I mean, there's no way that you can talk about... Exactly. You can't raise the question that you just raised of, like... Unless you're on the Joe Rogan Experience, you cannot raise the question of whether or not it's appropriate whether there should be a presumption of innocence.
That's why podcasts are so goddamn important. Because you could never do this on a regular show.
Certainly couldn't do the shit we were doing last night on a regular show. We'd be yanked off the air in a heartbeat.
Yeah, wait till it comes out. Woo! You know, here's the problem. If that guy is innocent, then Kurt is doing a service because he is expressing this very real possibility that someone might be lying. If that guy's guilty, then it's not funny at all, and it becomes really fucking gross for the girl. If she has to sit back and listen to someone mock whether or not she's telling the truth when she knows she did, that has got to be a horrible feeling. So the question is, what is worse? Is it worse to get falsely accused of rape, or is it worse to get raped when someone doesn't believe you and get accused of being a liar? It's obviously worse to get raped and being accused of a liar, but by how much? I mean, if you're grading on a scale, like I mean, let's just assume it's at least a bit worse on that side, because
I think being raped is worse than being falsely accused. But surely there's a third option, right? Being falsely accused
and having your career destroyed and dragged through the mud and forever labeled a rapist, which is entirely possible for someone who's innocent. It happened to a friend of mine. A friend of mine got accused falsely of rape. This girl that he was dating, he broke up with her. They broke up, and she just decided that she was going to get back at him, so she said that he was a rapist. And she followed through with it for a while and then eventually abandoned it. But that does happen, and it's happened many, many times. And there's a bunch of statistics you can look up online, but they're not entirely accurate because they don't take into account how many women. I mean, if you look at like overall rapes and overall people who lie at rape, the overall rape statistics are not accurate because they do not know, nor do they take into account, or can they possibly take into account how many women don't say anything. Yeah. It's a big number.
And also, like, what constitutes a rape?
Exactly.
Like, when you say that some men are falsely accused, it's not always as black and white as, you know, they were dating and they never even had sex at all, but she suddenly accuses him of rape. There are also scenarios where, as you said before, she was drunk, or like she didn't know that she consented, or he thought there was consent and there wasn't consent, or that, you know, I mean, or maybe they were, you know, so it's a vague area. And I think Kurt's point, which is, like, I don't think that we should be having to choose between the two options that you just cited, which is, on the one hand, a woman gets raped and is not believed, right, and on the other hand, a man is falsely accused of rape. Well, I think what Kurt is trying to do, just in a clumsy, smart-assy, flame-throwing way, is say, can't it be true that rape is really, really terrible, and we also should offer men the benefit of the doubt and encourage rape victims to go to the police rather than to internal investigations at places like UCB. His point is, like, he thinks he's on the side of the rape victims, right? By saying, like, they've been sold a dumb bill of goods by feminists by saying, oh, you're such poor, pathetic victims that you can't go to the police and it will never be taken care of by going to the police, so you should just be mollycoddled and you should either remain silent or you know, just have it sorted out internally.
Is he really saying, you think he's saying that?
Well, that's what he says. He says, so this is his follow-up Facebook post, which he posted last Wednesday, where he begins by saying, my punishment the mob is howling for is now officially more severe than the one for the actual rapist, which is interesting. But towards the end, he says, I didn't yell at victims to go to the police. They are victims. I'm yelling at the people who said women can't go to the police. They have to work outside the system. I think that's utter bullshit and leads to rapists walking free. It hurts the victims of sexual assault.
Okay, he's saying that because this woman never went to the police.
That's right.
She just publicly accused this guy of rape.
That's right. Isn't there more than one woman as well?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe there's a second one who's friends with that girl.
Right.
Who also says the same story. So that ain't good.
He claims to be on the side of the victims. I mean, I think he just doesn't quite get how traumatic it can be for women who've been sexually assaulted.
He gets raped every day. You don't even know. You don't know. He gets raped every day just so you can understand.
He gets raped every day and he loves it.
Not funny. Rape is never funny.
He said, why did the story of what happened come out after the guy is declared a rapist? I'll listen to any victim's account. All that was given initially is, psst, Aaron's a rapist, pass it on. My point was that no one seems disturbed by this. No one sees that down the road, next time we might get it wrong.
Well, we might have it wrong here. We don't know. But it's not good when a second person calls you out for the same crime.
That's right.
But it's also not good that no one went to the cops.
Yep.
And maybe, but also, what kind of evidence do you have? If somebody raped you a month ago, guess what? You have no evidence.
No, exactly.
Once you've showered up and you don't have any bruises, like, what can you say? It's your word against them.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think for some women, and it's also like, what exactly was the scenario that we're talking about? Was it a simple social justice warrior type thing where two people were drunk and then the woman didn't consent, so they're calling that rape, which is repeated ad nauseum? I mean, they got someone kicked out of Occidental College. There's a lawsuit going on right now because of that. I'm sure you know that story, where a man and a woman, the girl was saying, come on over, do you have condoms? They have sex, and then her friends convince her that because she was drunk, it was rape, even though they were both drunk. And then the college kicks him out, keeps her, and so he's suing the college. It's a fucking giant disaster. Yeah. It's total sexism. 100% sexism against the man. And when you look at the story and what it is, it's a goddamn witch hunt, and they gave in to the witch hunt. They just wanted to quiet it down, and they figured it would be easier to kick this kid out and just give in to the wills of the mob.
And then on the other hand, you've got that, like, the California college swimmer kid who raped the girl behind the dumpster on campus. You heard about that one?
She was passed out, right?
Yeah, she was passed out, and he was, like, fingering her, and she had, like, pine cone cuts all over her vagina and everything. It was a really horrible story, and he ended up getting, what?
6 months or something
nothing,
stupid?
basically nothing.
Right?
Now he's out again. And like,
see, that's a fucking terrible person.
Yeah.
And that guy should be punished.
And the judge was an alum of the same college, and so on. So he's like, it's an old boys' school. He's like, oh well, boys will be boys. And the apology that this rapist little asshole wrote was like, I think this serves as a good lesson about intoxication and the dangers of, like, inebriation on campus. Like, fuck you. It doesn't. That's not the lesson. The lesson is don't rape people. Like,
when pine cones in someone's vagina. Piece of shit.
Well, I mean, when she was, and it was bad enough, like, to people who say, well, maybe he thought that she was consenting. It was obvious enough that two other students, they were foreign students, they were Swedish guys, were riding by on bicycles, and they saw what was going on, and it was obvious from afar, even in the dark, what was happening, because they stopped and came over and rescued her. She was as limp as a rag doll, so he can't, you know.
Yeah, so there's that. That's real rape, and that's terrifying when a woman does get, you know, exposed as being someone who's experienced rape. So then you have to think about all these people that know your personal trauma, and then this guy barely gets punished. That's horrible too. Yeah. That's horrible too. Yeah, man, it sucks both ways. You know, I guess it definitely sucks worse if you're the person who gets victimized, but it still sucks if you're someone who didn't do anything wrong and someone claims that you're a rapist, and that tag carries you for the rest of your life, and you're being falsely accused.
Yeah.
Until we can read people's minds clearly and truly.
God, that'll be terrifying.
It's going to happen. It's on the way. It's like right now we are at the Morse code of reading minds. We're at the that's where we're at. I mean, they're sending signals, they're receiving signals, they're articulating words. They're sending words through the internet into your mind, and you see those words, you hear those words, images. They can place images in your mind. This is very rudimentary right now, but they're going to be able to string those words together and form sentences, and those words, instead of being through some giant bank of supercomputers, it's going to be something that's in your phone or a chip that we all willingly install in our brains, and we're going to read each other's minds. Then we're going to know.